Good morning, happy weekend. This really won't go up on the weekend. As we know, I procrastinate like crazy. I don't have many angles in this house that are aesthetically pleasing at the moment. We're getting the kitchen done and it's an absolute building site, so not ideal for aesthetic purposes, but this is the best I can give you. Anyway, to the point, I wanted to make a quick video today. I say quick again and it's going to be very long probably, but this has to be quick because I have to go to work and I've actually got things to do today. So it's Saturday and I am prepping for next week. So I just went and did a quick shop at Sainsbury's. Every little helps. No, live well for less. But this is something that I thought was actually quite significant to talk about, especially more recently, in regards to like how I've been feeling and stuff. And sort of like, I guess, the stigma or kind of what's associated to meal prepping. Now, generally, I mean, my opinion is that when we hear about meal prep or people speak about meal prep, it's either associated to competitive bodybuilders, athletes, or essentially diet. Kind of, it's like the key kind of crux around this. And that's something that I'm trying to like steer away from in terms of like the language that we use, especially when we're looking into eating disorders and anorexia. And so typically kind of what we associate with that is like weighing out foods, being really specific and regiment about what we're eating and that sort of thing. But I sort of want to come at it from the approach of why I'm utilising it at the moment. And it's not the way that we, I guess, typically think. Now, I've sort of been kind of looking into whether there is value in regards to like utilising numbers in recovery and treatment, and sort of like, I guess it's like a double-edged sword. It's kind of like a double-edged sword. A double-edged sword. There we go, do it slow, but that'll do. Yeah, I'm not saying it again because I can't. And also we've got to consider like the treatments that have been given to us, the plans of action, whoever we're under in that respect and what they advise. It may be that you've been advised to hit a caloric goal. It may be that you've been advised to hit a certain number in regards to your weight. And whilst yes, there is kind of a value in that, but we've also got to look at the other side of that and whether that is more detrimental or harmful potentially. Now for me, I stopped going on scales and I stopped weighing myself and I stopped weighing foods because I just thought it's this vicious cycle of like, I get so caught up about hitting a number or not hitting a number, and then it's kind of like, it adds to that association of failure, I guess. It's kind of like you wouldn't be happy if you lost weight and you wouldn't be happy if you gained weight at a certain stage in recovery. And again, that's another significant point, that the way in which we implement, or when we implement these things, is dependable in regards to where people are in regards to their eating disorder, the anorexia, and the stage of recovery, and how ill they are. But yeah, so basically what I just wanted to make the point of, I mean, finally, is that for me, I've been feeling that I've been slipping a little bit off track, and I've been in this stage of like kind of fighting kind of previous thoughts and trying to push myself too hard, and I've been trying to like change up, reducing my cardio back a bit, because purely for the fact of that I haven't been utilising it in the most beneficial way. I've sort of been using it negatively, and that's sort of the difference. Did I say that right? Difference. What? And I think that's something that really has to be emphasised in regards to all of this, is how and why we implementing exercise or utilising exercise, and why we're doing the things that we do. Again, hello. So for me, I've just been trying to do things that, this lighting is absolutely shocking, do things that are gonna benefit me or keep me on track at least, and stop me from sort of slipping back more so into bad habits. And the one thing that I've found that I really need to be getting on with is my nutrition. And I know it's been slacking and it hasn't been ideal. And the way I deal with my stress is that sort of slips back a bit, and that's something that I don't want to do, and especially where I've been hitting the gym a lot more now, and utilising resistance training a lot more, I'm just feeling a lot more lethargic because I'm not replenishing my body properly and just sucking in that respect. So for me, I'm sort of I wanted to get on track with my eating. And one way that I feel like is going to really benefit me is by doing a meal prep. Now this isn't for every meal, this is purely for my lunch times. I don't know about you guys, but I've always found lunch quite a difficult one because I always be so regiment in regards to timing and having my meals at a very specific time, and if it even went like 1 minute past that time, freak out, I'd get angry and I'd be like, well, so literally if I had lunch, for example, I always sort of felt like lunch was both too close to breakfast and dinner. So it was a really tricky one for me to sort of have. So normally, like in the midst of my eating disorder, my 1 meal a day would be my lunchtime meal. And that would be where I felt like pretty much I did it sort of, not strategic, well, I guess it is strategically, but to be like, okay, well, I've done like my exercises in the morning, so then I fuel up after that, and then I don't have to eat in the evening, or I can work out again afterwards to burn that off. So it was sort of like that break between, and I always knew that I could burn it off both sides, which is really an unhealthy thing to think about because there was not even enough in that meal to even compensate for what I did previously or after. And so that was sort of my main meal, and then I just wouldn't eat at all. So when I had to incorporate both breakfast and dinner, it was really difficult to have that one as well. So that was a massive struggle for me. But what I've sort of tried to do is prep my lunches so that I can just grab it and go. It's not the case of doing it because I'm trying to physically change my body in regards to physique wise. If that happens, but not in a negative way, if that makes sense. I'm doing it more to replenish my body and make sure that I am getting appropriate nutrition or better nutrition than I have been. And I've been slacking about it. And it's funny because I'd be like, oh, I kind of have a little bit more energy today. Why is that? Because you ate lunch and you ate something. Like, it's so frustrating because it's like I feel like a walking contradiction sometimes, and I don't practice what I preach. And I don't know about you guys, but it annoys me that I sort of know what I need to do, and I could say it to anyone else and be like, this is good, this is bad for you, and know in my mind what are the things to do. However, it's that sort of eating disorder brain, that anorexic brain, that's sort of telling you to do everything wrong, or just to not do those things, and so mentally you just can't do it. And I find that so frustrating because I just have this sort of place in my mind where I want to be, and I see like just so many people just like, I know you don't know everyone's story, but even just going out for a simple meal or just like not even thinking about that sort of thing and enjoying life, to get to that point would be absolutely amazing. And just, I can't get out of what a normal, like, what I mean, I don't know what's normal these days, but like, to go back to like when I didn't have my eating disorder and I just didn't even think about food in that way. I just literally ate whatever the hell I wanted, did what I wanted, and was enjoying life. I can't relate in that sense. And I think that's something also that's on the other side of the coin, is that people who haven't experienced it can only relate so much, or can only associate so much. And whilst it's not their fault, I think it's important that we educate, and this is why it's so important to bring the literature to light in this area, and you know, get it out there a lot more. I've waffled on again. I told you this is going to be a disaster. So yeah, basically meal prep, I'm doing it for the reasons solely to keep myself on track. And if that's something that you feel like would be really beneficial to you, I actually strongly encourage it. But the only thing that I would say is that I know a lot of the community do struggle with numbers, and I understand obviously this isn't, I can't recommend this, I can somewhat advise, but I don't know what you guys have been recommended by a professional body per se who specialises in that area, and what you've been told to do under the guidance of your treatment plans and things like that. So don't derail yourself if something's really working for you, but this is just something that I just wanted to kind of shed light to, in the fact of like, if you're doing something to benefit yourself like in a positive way, then like do it, and if you feel like it's necessary, then do it. And I think I've kind of prouded myself in a way, like I never really say that, was strange, but just by sort of recognising stuff and really trying to get back on track with it, because I don't want it to overrule everything anymore, and yeah, it's just sort of trying to nip it in the bud and trying to feel good and trying to keep on track in that sense, and focusing on my own goals. And that's what you guys need to do as well. You've got to remember that this is you, you're living in your body. Your body is a great thing, and it can take on a lot, but that does not mean we have to push it all the time to its bloody limits, which we have been for a significant amount of time. So yeah, in regards to like the number side of things, I literally don't count anything that's in my foods. Basically, I've prepped the same thing this week, which is going to be, I think it's like veggie sausages, rice, and my veg. If it makes it any easier, for example, where are you? So I bought packet rice. For me, I just find it's a bit easier, so I can divide it and just split it. I don't do scales or anything. Like, if that's been such a hindrance to you, do not use the scales. Eat to satiety. Like, don't restrict that in that sense. I feel like it just becomes super exhausting if I'm going through and counting everything that's in my meals. Like, I used to do that so much, and it just got too intense for me, and that's the thing that we need to sort of draw attention to, is how we can sort of get around that. But for me, yeah, I'm just popping it in and hoping for the best, and if I'm hungry after, I'll have something extra, so I'll bring something like a little snack bar on the side or something, but don't make it like a numbers thing. Your goal at the moment anyway isn't to become a bodybuilder. This is not a diet. This is helping you in your lifestyle and keeping you on track, and that's the one thing that I want you guys to remember, is that by doing that, that doesn't mean that you're on a diet. It just means that you're trying to be, it's there for you to have. And that's my main thing, is that it's easier for me to skip a meal if it's not there. And I think that's not something that I want to be doing. So by having these meals done for me and having them prepped, I can just grab it and go and know that I have it and I can eat it. So I'm not waiting for food, and I'm not kind of being like, oh, well, I'll just wait for dinner now because it's got too late. No, you've got the bloody food, have it, and that's that. So that's sort of like the way that I'm going with this, and it's actually been working for me quite well, and I do feel a lot better for it. Another piece of advice that I actually thought was really useful and actually really nice and a positive thing is that now that obviously restaurants and things are back open and we're sort of wanting to maybe mingle a little bit more, even go out with our friends and families, restaurants can be like a massive stress. I know, like, again, in the midst of my eating disorder, restaurants, even if I went, absolute no-go. Like, one of the most fearful things. And again, not knowing calorie content and things like that, and then getting worried about how, you know, just not having any control in that sense. And it's so sad because it sort of did used to ruin like family outings and stuff, or like even with friends, because you'd know that they'd feel bad or they'd feel frustrated. Not their fault, obviously, but not yours either in a sense. So it would just be not the best experience. But a really useful tip that I found, which I don't know why I didn't think of before, but taking, so if you're prepping meals, take one to the restaurant. So say, for example, I mean, we all do this anyway, we download the menu before we go and we have a look at what we want. Sometimes when you get to the restaurant, either they have a restricted menu, more so now, or they just don't have what you are wanting, or it's not available. And that can be very off-putting or throw people off a lot, and then you start going into panic mode, and then you sort of like, I'm not having anything then, or it just makes everything super stressful. So kind of two options that you can go for from here is that if you found something on the menu that you liked from before, you could either prep that meal. That would be pretty much the same thing, and then if they didn't have it there, you've got it to have, or just prep whatever, and then if they don't have it when you get there, if they don't have whatever, anything on the menu that you don't desire, you've got a meal to have, so that you're not missing out nutritionally on your food, and you're still able to enjoy being with your family and friends, and that is not by any means, like, don't even be embarrassed about that. If anything, you should be super proud of yourself for like thinking ahead in that respect and planning for that to happen, and that way you're not kind of slipping back, because I feel like even if one slip up like that happens, it's very easily to kind of get back into that kind of vicious circle, and that negative space. So that way at least you've kind of know you're going and hoping that they do have something there that you like, but if they don't, it's not the end of the world, and you, like I said, you're still getting those that nutritional benefit and still eating and still keeping on track. And I think it's just such a nice idea, and if you've got family and friends that support you in that, then that's all you need, and if you don't, then they're not the people you need to be hanging around with. But yeah, just sort of a super useful tip, and that's something that I think should be definitely encouraged more of, because even if you're not in the right mindset that day and you're really worried about that, you can kind of ease that pressure a little bit to be like, okay, well, I don't feel quite confident to do so, but I still want to go out and have a nice time with my family, and I'm going to go and I'm going to have this and I'm going to enjoy myself, and we should be able to do that. And then another day you might absolutely smash it out of the park, like who bloody knows, but there's nothing wrong in preparing yourself, and I think we need to give more credit to that. So I think that's a really good tip, and I'm going to try it and see. It'd be really interesting to see actually as well with how restaurants address that. Obviously it would be different if you went to a restaurant on your own and you were like, oh well, I can't have anything, so can I just sit here and eat my meal? Probably not. I don't know, my belly just went because I'm ravenous. But in the sense of if you're going with anyone or family, yeah, anything like that, then it would be interesting to see how restaurants respond. And I think there does need to be some leeway with that. And recently as well in the media, it's been going on about calories on menus. And that's something that we can talk about in another video, but that'd be really interesting to see if you guys want that. So comment below if that's something that you'd like to discuss, and we can analyse a little bit more. So whilst I've been rambling for bloody forever, I'm just going to get on with meal prep, and then I'm going to show you what I've prepped, and then we're going to go from there. Maybe ramble a bit more, don't know. Oh, I did put my ice away, it's probably melted. Okay, so a bajillion years later, told you, absolute building site. I don't know what that is. But we finally just finished prep, so I'm just going to show you what I've done, just so you can get an idea of like what I mean by like what I've done basically. It's very simplistic, but it tastes very good, and like I said, it's just keeping me on track and making sure that I'm eating. And yeah, so I'll give you a quick look. Okay, so yeah, these are my meals. So it's literally, I think I've got some veggie mince, I put some kidney beans in there and some onion, and then the other ones I've just got veggie sausages, and obviously all with rice and veg, and that's pretty much it. Nothing crazy. Bit of sriracha sauce, but yeah, that is literally pretty much it. Yeah, I think it took me about, well, prep was like super easy, just like cutting up the veg and throwing everything in the oven, to be honest. I've been saying these things about like, oh, don't worry about counting calories, or just don't measure things out. And whilst like I fully still believe that, I just want to point out as well that I still struggle with that. It's not something that just automatically goes away, and just because someone says not to do it, that you're going to be like, okay, all right, I won't do it. Because the whole time throughout this disorder, that has not been the case, and it's definitely not as straightforward as that. And so like, so for example, like when I buy the packet rice, although I don't like measure out, like I separate it into 2 halves for my lunches, but it's not that I measure that out or get exactly a half, whereas before I would have to fully measure that out and make sure I was getting exactly half, but it's not like that. It's just sort of like throwing it in there, and that's sort of what I mean by it. And that in itself though, I'm still trying to work through this and trying to do things the best way that I can, and for me, I just feel that sort of feels comfortable for me, and then hopefully as I get a bit better with all of this and increasing that and improving my carbohydrate intake, I will be a lot more confident with just serving whatever, in regards to like just boiling up some rice and popping it in a thing, which I can technically do. To be honest, part of it is just to do with the pure laziness of just that. I mean, it doesn't really make any difference, but that's the way I see it. But yeah, I just want to emphasize, like, I still have things that I'm definitely struggling with, and carbohydrate intake is definitely been one recently that I don't know what's happened. It's just been a bit of a worry, and I don't know if you guys can relate to that either, and that would be really interesting to know actually what components nutritionally you find difficult. Is it carbohydrates you find difficult? Is it fats you find difficult? Is it protein you find difficult? And why you find that difficult? I think that would be something really valuable to know. So if you want to put it in the comments below, it would be really interesting just for me to like sift through and see like if there's any trends or any relationships or anything that we thought wasn't as significant to people as what's been put out there. And it could be something else, like when I say carbs, you know, it could be sugar, it could just be things like a specific type of carbohydrate, that kind of thing, and proteins, like I said, fats. But yeah, it would be really interesting to know what you guys struggle with the most, and whether there is some sort of scientific association or something that's related or that should be looked into a little bit more. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the day, for today's ramble. I'm sorry about the aesthetics, like I've said, not a great deal I can do until we get our kitchen fitted. COVID hit at the worst time. I mean, there's definitely worse things than not getting your kitchen installed, because quite evidently, as we've seen. But yeah, so you just have to ignore that for now, and if you don't, well, let me know what you find intriguing in the background and we'll see what we can do with that. I hope this was somewhat useful to you guys, and if there's anything that you want to cover in this or ask questions about, feel free to put it in the comments. Be happy to sort of look through and answer. And like I said, keeping communication is super key, but I guess the main points that I want you to take from this is that the stigma in meal prep, and if it's going to benefit you in a positive way and keep you on track, then please do it and do things that are necessary. You're still working through things, so again, cut yourself some slack, and just challenge yourself with that, and when you go out to eat, set yourself up to succeed, and stay on track, and meals that you find difficult, it may be the best ones to prep for. So if you feel like even if you get worried about breakfast, prepping that for the morning so it's there ready for you to have, rather than having the process of having to make it and having that time to sort of, I guess, question whether to have it or not. I think it just takes that pressure off for a little bit. So it's there, you have it, and then you get on with your day. Likewise for dinner, prep it up so it's there, shove it in the oven or the microwave, or just eat it cold, whatever you want to do, and just set yourself up in that way. And there's nothing wrong with doing that. But don't be too worried about, okay, that's a terrible thing to say because I worry 24/7, but try and make the focus more on eating, and you know, you can use your family members and friends to help you and support you with that. And like I said, I'm not a specialist in this, and whatever you've been recommended via your treatment or whoever's kind of looking after you in the medical sense, or the advice that you've already been given, if it's working for you and that's what you've been advised, then please obviously stick to that. But this is just something maybe for future reference, or if you're in a different part of recovery, different stage, and you're just trying to benefit yourself in the most positive way, then it may be something to consider, and not take it like it's a diet thing. It's absolutely not. This is about keeping your lifestyle or improving your lifestyle, and making those changes for the better. And so realistically, this isn't a way out thing. This is just making sure that I have food to eat so I don't derail. So yeah, that's pretty much it for today. I hope you liked. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel, as it really supports kind of the movement and where we're moving forward. The scientific stuff is coming, I promise you. I've just been sort of in that headspace of like trying to sort myself out mentally and getting to where I am, and just focusing on that. And my lethargy has been horrific, so concentration has not been ideal, but it is coming, and I'm excited to sort of explore that area with you guys as well and kind of give that knowledge more light. But yeah, I hope you're having a good weekend. It's probably not the weekend, like I said. I've probably rammed on for about a good 7 days, so but I will see you in the next video. I don't know what it is, but hopefully if you subscribe, my clapping's back, so that's really good. That happens in every video. And yeah, I will see you in the next video. Keep going, you've got it, you're gonna do great.